Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. I'm Katie McKeever, Director of Product Marketing here at Yotpo. I'm extremely excited to introduce you to our guest today, Mary Pilecki. Mary's Forrester is Vice President and Principal Analyst for all things customer loyalty. Mary's research helps marketers navigate the continually changing landscape of loyalty technology and services, as well as emerging trends such as emotional loyalty. We've invited Mary today to share her expertise on how brands can use loyalty initiatives to improve their data collection strategy. Welcome, Mary, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
All right, before we dive in, for those of you who are not familiar with Yotpo, hopefully the majority of you are, Yotpo is the leading e-commerce marketing platform helping thousands of forward-thinking brands like Patagonia, Rebecca Minkoff, Movement, and Bob's Discount Furniture accelerate direct-to-consumer growth. Yotpo's single platform approach integrates data-driven solutions for reviews, loyalty, SMS marketing, empowering brands to create smarter, higher converting customer experiences. And with that, Mary, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Katie. I'm really pleased to be here today to really share Forrester's perspective on data collection and customer loyalty. And the agenda is we're first going to talk about how and why brands are embracing loyalty more than ever. The meat of the presentation will be about how you can use your loyalty program to really enable better data collection, and not just for loyalty, but for your entire organization. And then we also have some key outcomes of loyalty that are updated. In the last few years, a lot of things have changed. So we think about loyalty as an outcome, not as a tactic. And I'll share some of the outcomes that we're looking for these days. So we did a survey in January of B2C marketing and advertising employees who were VP level and above. And I had an opportunity to add some questions in it. And I wanted to understand where companies were with their loyalty efforts. So as you can see, the results were 41% of firms had loyalty strategies, but no structured program. And 32% of firms had structured loyalty programs. Another 24% didn't have a program or a strategy now, but they're planning on creating it within the next year. And only 3% showed that they had no loyalty initiatives or plans. So really 73% of brands today have active loyalty strategies or programs. And that's huge. We've seen this increase happen since the pandemic started, with brands looking for ways to hold on to customers and brands that were gaining new customers because they had capabilities to serve during the beginning of the pandemic. Those brands wanted to retain those new customers. We then asked them, those that did have the loyalty initiatives, what their plans were for them. And 35% recently revamped or modified their initiative. And another 35% down here either were planning on doing it in the next year, in this year or the next 2 years. And about a third, 29%, had no plans to revamp. So there's a lot of activity happening in loyalty, and brands are looking for ways to restructure their programs, to rethink their strategies in order to gain the best advantage with them. The other data I have, and the last piece of data I have, is really the spending on loyalty marketing and loyalty technology. So this was a different survey that we also did in December and January, and this is 770 B2C marketing decision makers globally. And you can see that in the dark blue, the numbers are almost exactly the same. We asked them whether they were planning on increasing, decreasing, or keeping roughly the same spend for both loyalty technology and also loyalty marketing. And 59% of them in both cases said they were increasing spend. 27 or 28% said they were staying the same, and only 12 or 13% were decreasing their spend on loyalty marketing or loyalty technology. So that's all 3 different pieces of data there to tell you that there's a ton of activity and loyalty really is hotter than ever. But why? The question is why? Well, the traditional outcomes that we've looked for from loyalty are retention, keeping that customer with us, enrichment, having them buy more products and services, and advocacy, having them really refer the brand to their friends and family. And we'll talk about updated outcomes later. We also know that of US consumers who belong to a loyalty program, they want to feel special. 68% state that getting special offers that aren't available to just anybody is really important to them. And 55% say that they join loyalty programs. A key reason they join loyalty programs is to get relevant messaging and offers. So, they're willing to join a program, they want a benefit in return. But we know that you can only truly personalize experiences for customers that you recognize and that you understand. And there's been a real issue growing over the past 2 years as well, this data problem that we refer to as data deprecation. So with increasing privacy regulations across the world, some device firms are blocking ad tracking software, and we know that the third-party cookie is going to go away. Marketers have really been losing access to the data they've been using for years to target new customers, to target existing customers, and do their best at personalization. So what do we do? The new trend is to use loyalty programs to collect personal data. And Forrester refers to that data as zero-party data. And that's data which a customer intentionally and proactively shares with a brand. So this can include, data about their preference center, what they want shared, what they don't. It could include purchase intentions, lots of personal context. What style do I like? What kind of food do I eat? What, sort of diet do I follow? Am I a vegan, a pescatarian, a meat eater? So it's things that a consumer will share with you as a brand. And we know that consumers will share this personal information in exchange for some sort of value. So this is data from our benchmark survey last year, and we're showing UK is the dark green, US is the light green in the middle, and Australia is the blue. And we know that in Australia and the US, 37% of online adults won't share data for any reason, or that's what they state. And in the UK, that's 40%. But the other 2/3 will share their data in exchange for these kinds of benefits. So there's the financial benefits on the left here, cash rewards, loyalty program points, free product samples. And then there's also the experiential benefits, things like better customer service, a fast-track phone line or chat box, ad-free content, and early access to new products. So consumers more and more want more experiential benefits. And so there's a real value in collecting this kind of data. And capturing zero-party data can really be as simple as asking the question, a yes-no question to your customer. So this is a restaurant reservation tool, and it says, do you usually dine out in San Francisco? And the answer was yes. So what this reservation tool will do is recommend restaurants that are in the San Francisco area. Very simple. And you can see the immediate benefit to the customer. Yelp asks what it can't infer. So it wants to personalize your experience, and it asks, it will ask you a survey, so what are your dietary needs? And this person responded that they're a pescatarian, and also from a lifestyle perspective, they're also a parent and they're a pet owner. So Yelp then immediately will personalize their recommendations, and they tell you we've handpicked some healthy options. And you can see here that the Fog Harbor Fish House has many pescatarian options, and then this Woodhouse Fish Company has pescatarian options and is kid friendly. So you're immediately getting benefit, and the consumer can see by sharing that kind of information, they're getting a direct benefit with these personalized offers. Some more examples are in the beauty world. Mecca in Australia uses this product recommendation tool, and it's primarily to build out customer segmentations. But you can see that it asks you, what kind of a beauty shopper are you? I don't know anything, help me. I love beauty and I buy a lot, a lot of questions. Then it says, do you have a beauty budget in mind? So how much do you want to spend? And then finally, who are you buying for? A friend, your mother, a partner, yourself. And so by asking these questions, Mecca can then segment the consumers by their budget, by what they need to know or what they already know, and and whether or not we're talking about a gift recommendation or something else. A Day is a fashion brand, and it offers a comprehensive 2-minute quiz to understand customer needs. So you can see there's a lot of questions. These actually aren't even all the questions, but how do you like your clothing to be fitted, loose, somewhere in the middle? What do you like to wear? Polished and put together? Are you ready for the gym? Are you like super cozy, but you don't want to look like you're in your PJs? That's kind of my thing. And how do you want to feel when you get dressed? Where do you spend most of your day, on Zoom or out and about? And then what do you carry with you? So these are just some of the questions they ask, but once you fill out this quiz, you get immediate recommendations. They call this the Doer Capsule, and these are recommendations of clothing items that they have in stock that fit that profile that you have just defined for them. And when you log in again, that's where they go. So again, that immediate benefit. And then finally, Paperchase, it's a stationery company in the UK. It built a personality quiz. And it starts by asking your email address, but then it goes into asking some specific attributes. And I know I love stationery. I know when I walk into an office supply store or a stationery store, I'm sort of overwhelmed and excited, but I don't know what I want. So this quiz actually asks what your goals are, your attitudes, your personality. And then they follow up, and they in this case, they gave me a color. I'm yellow. So it's strongly associated with happiness. And it then recommends, there's a link here to shop yellow. So it's defined me as a yellow person, and then it gives me the options in yellow, which helps narrow it down because I like lots of colors, but this is a great place to start. So those are some good examples of how brands are collecting zero-party data. And the good news is that we've updated our business case for the ROI of loyalty to really include the value of zero-party data. And when we look at a business case, we look at the revenue that you're anticipating to come in through your loyalty program, any improved sales or customer value. And then you have savings, so marketing efficiencies and driving desired member behaviors. And where the zero-party data comes in is a marketing efficiency. It's a reduction in cost for buying that third-party data. So in our published template for the ROI, we actually said that we'd save 50% of our third-party data cost. And that improved our ROI model from 43% to 53%. You also in the ROI, you want to subtract your costs, your technology, your testing implementation, your ongoing maintenance. And then there's also a risk factor. But the good news is by collecting zero-party data, you're actually driving a marketing efficiency. And the best news is that zero-party data is far better, it's more accurate than the data you collect by buying third-party data, because you're getting it straight from the consumer and what they want to share with you. So, the last part of the presentation today is to talk about the new outcomes of loyalty. And as I said earlier, the traditional outcomes for loyalty are retention, enrichment, and advocacy. But now brands are looking to loyalty for growth and behavior change from their consumers. So when we look at the retention metric outcome, not only are we looking to hold on to customers, but we're also trying to drive behavior. Many brands are migrating those customers from brick and mortar to digital and online. On the enrichment side, we not only want them to buy new products and services, but we want to collect that data, as I've mentioned. And we're also focusing on improving the customer lifetime value. And this is a metric that has come in and out of vogue. It's coming back into vogue and looking at the long term and not the short term when you're thinking about loyalty, which makes sense. And then finally, on the advocacy, yes, we want referrals, but we want them not only to come join our loyalty programs, but we also want them to drive in new customers. So data collection and acquisition are actually the new plays in loyalty. And this is a great example from Thrive Market about how they are collecting data and trying to acquire customers. So this comes up on your first entry to their website, and it asks you these questions that we've talked about before immediately. So, what diets, who do you shop for, what's on your shopping list? And then they invite you to sign up, become a member of Thrive Market. They'll save this information and they'll give you personalized recommendations. But they are capturing these shopping traits of prospects. Whether or not you sign up, they still have that information. And so they can start to segment people and understand what people are actually looking for. So these are your updated outcomes of customer loyalty. You still have the retention, enrichment, and advocacy, but now that data collection and acquisition are becoming as important. So some things to think about when you get this data, leverage it across your entire enterprise. Loyalty, we talk about as being an enterprise-wide initiative. This isn't just something that a segment of your marketing team works on and does. So the first thing you need to think about is using the data you collect and the insights you derive across your company. So work beyond your silos. We still see a lot of silos in marketing and separating out loyalty customers. But when you think about it, one of the worst things you can do is send your loyalty member an offer, say for 15% off their next purchase, and then a few days later send that same person an offer that is not loyalty related. And maybe it's 15% or maybe it's 10%. But regardless, you're working against your loyalty program and you're letting the customer know that they are considered two different people in your organization. So when you share this data, where you leverage the insights and you become more connected in how you, and more thoughtful about how you reach out to consumers, you'll present a better offer to them, and you'll preserve that loyalty membership. And this is about that. So consumers want a consistent and simple experience. They don't want to hear from several different parts of your organization saying, hey, you should buy these jeans, or you should buy this hat, or whatever. They want a simple and consistent experience, no matter where they are, in the store, online, on their phone, etc. And then, break down those silos. So operate as one marketing team, not just for loyalty members, but also not one separate for loyalty members, and not one separate for each product line. The product lines need to talk to each other. Whether or not you are silos organizationally, that's one thing. But how you use the data and how you present yourself to the customer is the most important thing. And then embed CX in everything you do across loyalty and the entire customer lifecycle. When we think about measuring CX at Forrester, we look at the ease of the transaction, the effectiveness of the transaction, and the emotions that you generate. And those lead to those outcomes that you're looking for. So a great experience is going to lead to the customer feeling good about your organization and taking positive actions. And loyalty used to be just in the middle sort of the customer life cycle, post-purchase. But now, because we're looking at it for data collection and we're also looking at it for acquisition, it's really across the entire customer life cycle. And then when you think about that interaction that will generate emotions, your customers will reward you by staying with you, by buying more, and by referring your brand to friends and family. So that's the presentation I have today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mary. Very insightful, and I think that there are a number of different takeaways for everyone who attended today's webinar. But let's go ahead and dive into some questions. So the first question we have is, what is the difference between a loyalty strategy and a loyalty program?
It's a great question. So at Forrester, we think about loyalty on a spectrum. And on one end is your strategy, which is, it starts with, what are you looking for from a loyalty initiative, and how are you going to go about it? So are you going to have a program? Are you going to have special initiatives? Are you just going to build your product in a way like Apple does to make your customers loyal? So there are a lot of companies that don't have a loyalty program, a structured program, which usually has some sort of currency like points or miles, and it has tiers, and it engages the customer in a very specific way. That's the other end of the spectrum, the program. But there are companies like Apple, like Chewy.com that don't have programs, but they have very clearly defined strategies. So Apple builds their products in a way to make it easy to upgrade from one to the next. And we see very loyal customers without getting any points or discounts. We see them waiting in line whenever there's a new iPhone coming out or a new iPad. Chewy.com is a pet brand company, and they don't have a traditional program, a structured program, but they will do things like send you a personalized note, or when your pet dies, if you call them and you want to return the last pet food that you purchased, they'll say, keep the pet food, actually donate it to a local animal shelter, and we'll refund you the money. And we're very sorry. They might even send you a sympathy card for losing your pet. They've also done things in the past like have artists create miniature portraits of your pets and send them out in a surprise and delight manner. So there are companies that have very clear strategies. They know what they're looking for, and they might engage in different activities to get the customer's loyalty. But then there are the companies that have that very structured program that we're all very familiar with.
Really interesting to think about how there are clear strategies and kind of philosophies that some companies have, and that it's very well embedded throughout their organization. And kind of the difference with programs is that it's a very clear value exchange for customers, but they both elicit that same brand loyalty at the end of the day. So super insightful.
Yeah.
The next question we have is, are brands collecting zero-party data without a loyalty program?
Yes, so we saw that example with the Thrive Market example, but you can then join their loyalty program. But this is something that's becoming more and more important to brands because of the data deprecation issue. However, in a loyalty program, it's so easy to turn around and show the value of that data to the customer right away. So even, it can be as direct as a personalized offer. So the Yelp, I eat pescatarian and I want to go to restaurants that are kid-friendly and have a lot of pescatarian offerings. There's an immediate value for me to give the brand, to give Yelp that information. And that can be done with or without a loyalty program. But there's other value that you get with a loyalty program. You could give me points if it's a currency-based structured program for giving you that information. Kellogg's did that a while back when they asked their snack personality. So they asked you whether you were a sweet or a salty snack eater, a crunchy or a soft. And based on your responses, they gave you personalized recommendations, but they also gave you 500 points into the program. So there's a real benefit from asking this stuff, and because they're a loyalty member, you have a record of this customer. They have filled out a profile. You've got usually their name, their address, their email address. You have a lot of information about them. So there's a good place to store it. And you can really store it in what we call a preference center that is also accessible to the consumer. So they can tell you how frequently they want to be communicated with, whether they want email or text, whatever. So it's easier when you know the customer to be able, or when you can authenticate that customer to be able to collect the data for loyalty.
Yeah, so critical to have tools that allow you to actually store and then be able to leverage that data and execute on it. This is super insightful as well. I really like this next question because I think it's so important in today's consumer world that we respect privacy and we think about how we're diligently using data that we have as brands. So this question is, what shouldn't we do with zero-party data?
Yes, great question. First of all, don't collect data that you will never use, okay? If you don't sell anything having to do with pets, then why ask if the customer has a pet? Unless you're going to use it, and there are some subtle ways to use data like that. So for example, you might send me an advertisement for the clothing I like, say it's jeans and a sweatshirt, but in that advertising, there's a person in jeans and a sweatshirt, and there's also a dog, right, in the picture. So you are using that data, and whether the customer actually recognizes it or not, you can generate an emotion by adding that picture of the dog in the advertisement. But in general, you're not going to collect any data that you won't use, because consumers then think you're just digging for data, and what are you going to do with it? You know, hopefully you're not going to sell it. Consumers, they want access to understand what you're doing with the data, and they want to know whether you're selling it or not. So that's the biggest no-no, what not to do with zero-party data. But also, we have found in general that asking like one question at a time or a short survey, very short survey, is usually more effective than asking a big survey. Now, I gave you some examples like the A Day fashion brand that has you fill out this 2-minute quiz, but they tell you right in the beginning, this is a 2-minute quiz, right? And they'll tell you, we're going to ask you about your preferences and give you personalized recommendations, so you know what you're getting into, and you don't have to fill out the quiz. So in general, shorter periodic questions are better. Questions that are easy to answer, like for fashion, showing 4 different styles and have your consumer just click on the one that they're most likely to buy or feel comfortable in. You know, making it easier. Don't ask for free-form answers. Just make the experience of asking for the data as easy as possible. So that's sort of both what to do and not to do.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Mary. You have shared quite a bit of expertise, and we really appreciate everything that you've been able to share today. So hopefully everyone has some great takeaways, and thank you again for joining.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.